Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome back to Stepping into the Arena, the relationship arena, as we call it, where we are talking all things relationship, all different types of relationships, the relationship, of course, with ourselves, first and foremost, but how that impacts the relationships we have with the rest of our world, in life, in love, in business even. And we've had some fabulous guests come on. But today I'm very excited. Well, I'm always very excited with my guests. But sometimes you get a topic that there's not going to be many other people that are going to be able to come in and have this conversation with you. There are not going to be many people who are prepared to kind of talk about this. And I think it's something as a relationship therapist that we should be talking about. So welcome, Sarah Liebelt. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited. Thank you for having me, Ellie.
We just met each other a couple of months ago. We had a one-to-one, and we just, it was like, I've met somebody, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And Sarah is kind of similar. So we do similar work, but Sarah is a sex, love, and relationships coach. And obviously I work in the relationships therapy. So we have loads to talk about. So we're going to try and keep this to our usual 20-minute episode, but you will forgive us because we are also going to be diving into some really interesting topics. But firstly, Sarah, thank you for being here, and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. So, I am Sarah. I'm a sex, love, and relationships coach. And you know what? I really came to this field. I've been a coach through many other different hats in my life, a personal trainer, coach people on personal development projects, but really kind of came to this particular hat just through my own life experience. 3 years ago, I found myself single for the first time in my adult life, which in hindsight, it's crazy. At that point, I was 35 and I'd never been single. I was like, what? Right? To share your life with someone. And I think at that young age, to not even really know yourself. I think I met my first boyfriend when I was 20. I didn't really know who I was. I spent the next 15 years with two different men, navigating that, not even navigating myself. So being single for the first time in my life 3 years ago, I was like, immediately, okay, well, I've got to find a partner. But as I started dating, I was like, I don't want a partner. I want to explore. I want to meet people. I want to do all the things. But I had a whole bunch of judgment around this and stuff and junk that I had to unpack. And as I went through and really started to come out the other side, feeling lit up and excited and in control and knowing myself, I was like, holy hell, I need to support people in this same journey. So I was like, you know what, let me just retrain as a sex, love, and relationships coach and take on that role and that work. And it just excites me to no end.
That is perfect, because when we talk about being a relationships coach or therapist on its own, people, I think, make assumptions, and their first assumption is that's about two people, normally in a partnership, and on my side, actually, it could be family, it could be friendship, there's a whole other host of relationships. And now we're moving into this space of sex and love, and we're living in a world where we're meant to be becoming more accepting and modern and open, and it's all good. But actually, there's still a lot of taboo, even around the fact that you have the word sex in your job title, right? It's like, oh, what does she do? So what, tell me about sort of how, what people think about, what you do.
Yeah, you know what, because I'm very open-minded and very kind of out there, right? I expect that everyone kind of is. So when I encounter someone who's not, I'm a bit taken aback. But I think because I am that way, when I talk to people, I just say, yeah, I'm a sex, love, and relationships coach. So for me, there's no awkwardness and weirdness, which then allows people that I'm speaking to show up in that same way as well. So my experience has been that people are very curious. There has been maybe one or two eyebrow raises, but even those, they're more like, oh, okay, what does that mean? What is it that you do? And then I have noticed very quickly, people either say something like, oh, could I ask you this question? Or oh, maybe we could work together, or, oh, this is what's going on in my life. And they just kind of want to share, and they just kind of want to talk about it. So while I do think we are in Britain and there is there is still a lot of junk around it,
Yes.
People are a lot more open-minded and curious about things, and really coming to be okay with that sex is important.
Right.
And relationships, like you said, relationships yourself first and foremost, and then relationships with other people are important. Mm-hmm. They're up there with, our jobs and all those kinds of things. And there's been a lot of shame around that before. And, I can't prioritize my partner, or, I don't want to put myself out for my partner and all that kind of stuff. But you work super hard for your job.
Right, exactly. And I think as well for women, and I really try not to get involved in this whole, it's tough for women and, this, that, and the other. But actually, the whole relationship we've had with sex as women has been a real journey in terms of being able to be comfortable with it, comfortable about asking for it, talking about it, being open about it. But also in terms of our relationships, there's a lot of conflict now, I think, for women, where women, still want to nurture their partner. They still want to nurture the relationship, but we're meant to be so independent, and we're not meant to be seen as someone who's the carer. And, it's complex for people, isn't it? Like, what is my role here?
Yeah, that is such a good point. And exactly what you said. We're talking about the context of women right now, but everyone's got their own issues in life, own difficulties. Yeah. So I know that you're not discounting the male perspective. Absolutely. But yeah, absolutely, for women, we hold a lot of jobs, a lot of bags these days, and they are often conflicting. But that's one of the beautiful things about life that I think we accidentally miss being human. Life is not binary. It's not just Miss Independent or Miss Homemaker. You can be both. You can be everything. But you just have to practice doing it all. You just have to know, okay, when I'm at work, this is what I embody. When I'm at home, this is what I embody. I don't have to be either or, but I've got to figure out, how can I have all the things that I want to have and be all the things that I want to be? Because it doesn't often work to be Miss Boss Lady at home if you've got Mr. Boss Man.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. You're both kind of in that similar position, Love that. So there's a lot going on before we even get to the fact of talking about, sex. But, I'm not going to waste the time so that we, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the different kinds of relationships, because I think that's one of the things that perhaps you and I experience discussions on that maybe a lot of people don't. But you're right. They are curious. They are curious, and they're interested. And I meet a lot of people who are exploring their sexuality, thinking about gender, but they don't really know how to express it, or even different, we spoke before we press record, different types of relationships, because you're right, it's not one size fits all, right?
Nope. Yep. And sorry, go.
I was going to say, so give us sort of an insight into your world in the different alternative relationships that you come across.
Yeah, well, great question. I love this. So if I may just give a little bit of background, because it's a hilarious story in my opinion. A couple of years ago, I loved dating. Technically I have two partners now, two official partners. So I would call myself polyamorous now. And that's a label that's how we kind of understand the world. I don't particularly enjoy the labels, because we do find them to be very constricting. Yeah, but I do say that I'm polyamorous, at least for right now, until I make a different decision. But this kind of really came about a couple of years ago. I'd been dating and loving it, and not wanting to choose just one person, but feeling like I had to. And I remember saying to my best girlfriend, and I'd had a particularly bad breakup with this one guy. I was heartbroken, and I was like, I just want a harem, just at least 3 different men, 3 different children to these 3 different men, and they can just be on a rotational basis.
Goodness.
Right. And while it was a joke at the time, it got me thinking, actually, I love the different energies of people. And is it really fair to put all of my hopes and dreams onto someone else?
Yeah. Just one person. Yeah.
One person, yeah, one person who's going to fulfill all of your needs for the rest of your life. And so I just started spinning the wheels to look at things like polyamory, to look at open relationships, and then like kind of how you might navigate those kinds of things. So there's a whole bunch of different labels, but really they come under the banner of consensual non-monogamy. So it's not just you that I'm sleeping with or spending time with. It might be one other person, it might be a whole bunch of other people, but we know about it and we talk about it and we're upfront about it and we're in agreement about this.
I think that's really important. And I think that we hear it's kind of accepted for people that you can date. There's this kind of, I'm just dating. So it's almost that American way of dating that we're embracing, where you can see other people whilst you're just dating, but at some point the pressure is on to commit.
Yes.
And committing means picking one person and to the exclusion of all others. Whereas what you're saying is, you can be in good, strong relationships, good, caring, nurturing relationships with more than one person. And that isn't the same as just this kind of casual dating, you know, that happened before. That's right. Yeah. So,
yeah, absolutely. So like actively being present and creating relationships with more than one person. Yeah.
So I think the question people are asking is, how do you navigate this? So you know that that's what you want, and you meet people, and how do you broach that topic in a world where we are almost programmed to say, I'm looking for a person?
Yeah, exactly. And we definitely are programmed to be that way, right? Marriage, all that sort of stuff. And I believe in marriage and I want to get married, and I don't believe that needs to be monogamous either. So how do you navigate that? I think there's a few different key bits. One is high level communication, and like giving yourself a lot of grace. Like these are, if you're entering into this world and exploring this, these are things that have not been modeled for you before. This is not how you grew up. This is not the norm for us. It is in other cultures, but you know, for the British way, I'm Australian, for the Australian way, the American way, that is not the norm for Western cultures. So give yourself a lot of grace that you're probably going to get it wrong a bit. It's going to be crunchy. It's going to be edgy. You're not going to want to have these conversations. It's going to feel icky and weird. And you're going to have a whole bunch of human thoughts and feelings and emotions coming up. And one of my big tips for navigating that is just know that you're living a lifestyle that resonates with you, or at least you're exploring it and trying to find your way with it, because there will be thoughts that come up that say, maybe I should just commit. Wouldn't it be easier? Oh, I don't want to have that conversation. Maybe let's just be monogamous instead. Actually, if this way of living resonates with you, it is going to take work. It's going to take conscious effort and a lot of communication. And like I said, grace. So as you're navigating that communication with people, just know that it's unusual for them and it's unusual for you. And as long as you kind of keep that first and foremost in mind, and also respect, right? Like you may be non-monogamous, but also that means you, it would benefit you and your partners to have a high level of respect behind that. It doesn't mean that you can just go off and do all the things that you want to do and have unprotected sex and all those kinds of things. Like you're in a partnership with one or more people, that requires effort and respect and like a lot of communication around there. And I would say have those conversations early. So when I met my primary partner on our first date, I just kind of dropped in, I'm not monogamous at the moment. I don't know if I ever will be, but that's how I am at the moment. And that gave him then the space to early, before he was invested, to be like, oh, do I want to do this or not? So definitely be upfront as early as possible in a safe and appropriate way. It doesn't have to be a big conversation, but at least, you know, let someone know this is what they're getting in for if they want to keep seeing you.
Now that's interesting as well. So you've raised it early on there, and I'm thinking, what would my questions be? You know, if I was new to this, and I think my next question would be, well, you told him that you weren't monogamous, but did he think, well, she will be with me, right? She says that, but that's fine, because it's going to be different for me. So, you know, there's this ongoing conversation, isn't there, that needs to be had.
Yeah, 1000%. And ongoing conversations. Like this partner and I, we have what we call relationship board meetings, like once a fortnight, basically. Yeah. We have an agenda and we check in all the time. How's it going? How are you feeling? This happened last week. What did you think about that? But he used to say, oh yeah, go be non-monogamous, get that out of your system.
Right.
And he said it to me one day and I said, just checking in, you know, you said that, but what if that's just how I want to live my life?
Yes.
And he was like, oh, okay. Well, you know, as long as we keep talking about it, and in 5 years or 10 years time, we can always keep talking, maybe we reassess. And I'm like, okay, cool. You want to reassess at some point? That's fine. But no, this is my point, at least for now. And then we can talk about it more later. So yeah, ongoing conversations all the time.
And I love the fact we're talking about communication, because actually, although the conversation is different, the topic is different, this kind of communication is often what's missing in a relationship. So because you are entering into an alternative relationship and you might be navigating new waters, you're actively thinking about the communication that you need to have, and you're encouraging your partner to have that communication with you. I love that. When I work, I call them, for my clients, relationship platform centers. So they come together and, you know, and literally they have that kind of like deep dive into what's going on for them, so they keep the platform stable, you know, when they're talking about it. But these are the conversations that still need to happen in any kind of relationship, right? And I think that's the bit that's missing a lot of the time.
Absolutely. And that's just part of conscious creation, isn't it? Like, let's talk about what's important to us. And a big thing for my primary partner and I is, let's talk about what annoyed me. Yeah. Because we're human. Annoyances come up. We have judgments in our head, but we own it. Like, oh my God, when you did this, my thought was blah blah blah, and we say it like, oh, I'm such a bad girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, but it's a joke, because we know that's just my humanity coming out. But let me talk about it, so you know what my triggers are, and so I can own my own junk. But what I love about this high level communication is the intimacy and the trust and the connection that is available to you through sharing who I really am as a human. Because it's hard to say, I want to sleep with someone else, even though I really love you and I love what we have, I still sometimes want to sleep with someone else. For me to be that vulnerable and open and just real about it, and to have another human being say, it's okay, I accept you and I love you. That's like crazy level of trust and intimacy right there.
Totally, because you're being vulnerable, but you are putting them in a position of vulnerability where, you know, they can start to doubt, well, what is it about me? You know, why is it? Am I not enough for this person? And getting past the fact that that isn't actually what we're talking about here. It's not about you not being enough. It's just a different way of looking at things. So then what you've got the communication going, it's all going well, but you have said that you have two partners. So how do you then, so what happens when either you want to bring another person into a relationship, so not just going off and, you know, having sex, sleeping with, you know, but saying, yeah, I want to bring someone else in on a more permanent basis. Or if your partner says, quite, you know, I'm liking this way of lifestyle, I would like to go off and bring someone else into the relationship.
And look, that has happened. And when we started, he was like, nah, I don't want to see other people. But then just through me exploring and sharing with him, it allowed him the space to be honest with himself, that actually he wants to do the same thing, but he's got a lot of conditioning that he shouldn't do that. So when he said to me, you know, I think I want to explore, what do you mean? I support this wholly, but am I not enough for you? So yeah, all of those triggers will probably come up. And it's about, that's okay. That's okay to be human and manage yourself. Talk to your partner, share those things with your partner. And often once we share what we're afraid of or concerned about, it has less power, because we hear the words and we get, you know what, actually my partner loves me. Do you know what, we are stable. And then he can reassure, or your partner can reassure. And then it becomes less of a big thing. Whereas if we hold all of those thoughts and feelings and insecurities over here with us, it kind of eats away at us, doesn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. And I just want to be clear to us, we are talking about agreements here. This is not the same as you thinking you are in a monogamous relationship and then it all coming out that your partner wants to see someone else, and them thinking that you are overreacting or, you know, you're being precious. These are really open, adult, you know, well thought out relationships where this communication has happened from almost day one, you know, and everyone's in the know about what's going on.
Yes, exactly. And that's a great point, Ali, because one of the things that I often, you know, clients and people kind of come to me with is they want to do this, but they don't want to have the conversations. Yeah. Or they've got this agreement with their partner that it's non-monogamous, but they're just off doing whatever and not then having conversations of, oh, I saw this person, oh, I slept with this person. It's like a don't ask, don't tell scenario. Yeah. Which I understand why people think that they want that. Like, I'd rather just not know. But actually the not knowing, that just builds secrecy and it builds mistrust. Because even though we might think, oh, I'd just rather not know, is he out with someone else? Is she out with someone else? Who was that texting? Do you know what? Like, at least if we've had conversations and everyone knows who my other partner is, or I know who their other partners are and what they're up to, I know everything. I don't need to question. It might be a difficult conversation at the time, but I know everything.
Because this is the thing, it's the secrecy and the connection with the other person that causes the hurt in a lot of cases. So you have to get that off the table. You know, you have to really be clear on what your ground rules are and be prepared to be open 100%.
And I do think that is one of the things that that leads things like polyamory or open relationships to break down. It's that the level of communication just isn't there. And then we think, oh, well, you know, polyamory doesn't work, open relationships don't work. Actually, we didn't work the relationship. We weren't respectful enough to have uncomfortable conversations. You know, we weren't honest enough and strong enough and vulnerable enough. And that part of that is because we don't want to show our true selves, and we're also afraid that our partner might leave. However, you know, they're probably going to leave anyways if we're not really being honest and we're doing things without their knowledge. So
Sarah, we could talk for ages. We could just talk I'm going to have you back on the show, I know, to carry on this conversation. But when you're watching, if you look below in the comments, you'll see all the links to Sarah's social media and website where you can go and find out loads more about Sarah. I know there'll be lots of questions, so post your questions and we will watch out for those. We will get back to you. It's a fascinating topic. It's all, again, it just all comes down to that whole piece around communication and the things that we don't talk about because we don't feel comfortable, but we need to talk about. So thank you very much for being in the new season and stepping into the arena on a really, you know, tricky topic there, which I just loved having that chat with you. So my last question, as always, to all of my guests is, you know, what is your concept of relationship? The big question.
Oh, it is a big question and I love it. And something has literally just occurred to me. There's so many things that I could kind of pull on here. But the concept of relationships is that they are temporary. They are temporary, yeah. Unless it's the one with yourself, but that's always evolving and that's always changing. And if we're looking at the context of relationships with a partner or many partners, they are temporary. You know, like we have to earn the right to be in someone's life, and they have to earn the right to be in our life. Just because we're committed or non-monogamous or poly or married, that doesn't mean anything. People change their minds all the time. People leave situations all the time. So I guess my biggest concept on that one would be like, work that relationship like it's the most important job you will ever have, because it is. That's what we are fundamentally here for as human beings, for connection, for intimacy, for love. Mm-hmm. However long a relationship lasts for, whether it be 5 minutes or 55 years or 6 months, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're all beautiful as they are, and they are temporary and fleeting.
Oh, do you know what, Sarah? I'm going to steal your quote for Instagram. I'm going to quote you on it, but work that relationship as if it's the most important job you've ever had. I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for being on the show. And as I say, we will have you back again very soon. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'll do the usual blurb. If you love the show, then don't forget to like and also subscribe. We won't spam you, but you will get notified for when our new episodes come out. And we're doing weekly episodes at the moment. And if there's a topic about relationships that you would like us to cover, then pop that in the comments as well, because I am sure we're going to find somebody who's going to be able to talk about that. Probably Sarah. So we'll just get Sarah back to talk about it. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Take care. Bright blessings.